I wasn't planning to write tonight either. Not after another deadline slipped by without public resolution. Not while search crews continue combing the Catalina foothills. Not while investigators review digital ransom messages and incoming tips. And not while the voice of Savannah Guthrie from her second video, calm, steady, resolute, still echoes across living rooms nationwide. When public figures face private crises, the silence between updates can feel louder than words. People search for meaning in every pause, every sentence, every expression. But before leaning into dramatic retellings of closed-door meetings and whispered confessions, it's important to ground ourselves. What we know is simple and serious. A family is navigating uncertainty. Everything else must be handled carefully, respectfully, and truthfully. The weight of a familiar face. Because this narrative places Lester Holt at its center, clarity matters. There is no verified public statement from Holt confirming a private meeting in which he offered detailed psychological insights into Savannah and her relationship with her mother. That distinction is not minor. It is essential. When trusted figures are cited in emotional stories, their credibility can unintentionally validate accounts that may not be confirmed. Holt has long been known for composure and restraint on air. It's understandable that people imagine him offering measured reflections in private, but imagination and verification are not the same thing. In moments involving alleged crimes and ongoing investigations, repeating unconfirmed conversations risks turning compelling storytelling into perceived fact. Composure is not a code. Savannah's public demeanor has become a focal point. Viewers describe her tone as controlled, structured, almost rehearsed. But seasoned journalists are trained to communicate clearly under extreme pressure. Years of anchoring live broadcasts build a reflex. Thank supporters, provide context, address developments, then make a direct appeal. That structure mirrors professional discipline more than hidden psychological choreography. Calm delivery in crisis does not automatically reveal emotional suppression or lifelong conditioning. It can reflect strategy, legal guidance, or simply the instinct to remain coherent when emotions threaten clarity. Composure can be protective. It can create stability for children, siblings, investigators, and even oneself. It does not automatically signal detachment from pain. The silence between statements. Much speculation surrounds the timing of Savannah's public messages. Why wait? Why not speak immediately? Families involved in sensitive investigations are often advised to coordinate carefully with authorities. Early emotional statements can complicate negotiations or interfere with law enforcement strategy. Deliberate timing may reflect consultation, not performance. Waiting to gather facts before speaking publicly can be responsible rather than calculated. The public experiences silence as suspense. But for families, silence may be procedural. Interpreting measured communication as evidence of lifelong emotional rules may oversimplify what is often practical caution. The temptation to create a backstory. When a crisis unfolds, it is tempting to construct a deeper psychological narrative. Stories about strict parenting, inherited stoicism, or invisible scorecards provide a framework that makes chaos feel understandable. Yet unless Savannah herself confirms those intimate dynamics, they remain interpretations. Parents who emphasize resilience are not automatically withholding love. Children who grow up valuing strength are not necessarily deprived of tenderness. Real families contain contradictions, discipline and warmth, expectation and affection, correction and comfort. Turning a disappearance into a symbolic reckoning about conditional love risks flattening that complexity into a single theme. Strength and vulnerability coexist. It is entirely possible that Savannah is steady on camera and shaken in private. Human beings compartmentalize to survive overwhelming circumstances. A person can deliver a composed statement and later sit in fear. Public clarity does not erase private anguish. Suggesting that visible control equals emotional imprisonment may resonate dramatically, but it assumes access to internal thoughts none of us truly possess. What we can observe is professionalism. What we cannot claim with certainty is the private dialogue behind it. Compassion means allowing room for both visible strength and unseen vulnerability without assigning motives. The responsibility of storytelling narratives built on exact timestamps, private rooms, and what was really said feel persuasive because they contain detail. But detail alone does not confirm truth. When respected journalists are quoted without public attribution, the line between reporting and dramatization becomes blurred. Responsible storytelling draws a clear boundary between verified statements and interpretive reflection. In high-stakes situations, that boundary protects everyone involved: the family, the investigators, and the public. Accuracy does not diminish emotion, it strengthens trust. What remains undeniable beyond speculation, one fact stands: a family is enduring uncertainty. That reality does not require layered psychological arcs to be meaningful. A daughter asking for information about her mother is already profoundly human. Whether she speaks with tears or with steadiness does not measure the depth of her love. It simply reflects how she functions under pressure. Observers may analyze tone and phrasing, but the core remains straightforward: hope for safety, coordination with authorities, and waiting for clarity. Choosing patience over projection. In moments like this, the most humane posture may be restraint. Rather than projecting lifelong narratives onto present behavior, we can acknowledge what is verifiable and leave space for what is private. If Lester Holt or anyone else chooses to speak publicly on record, those words can be weighed responsibly. Until then, repeating unconfirmed accounts as definitive truth risks adding noise to an already painful situation. Holding space with care. Tonight, search efforts continue. Investigators follow leads, loved ones wait, the public watches. Instead of searching for hidden meanings behind every controlled sentence, perhaps the wiser response is simple solidarity. Let facts lead. Let empathy guide tone. Let patience replace speculation. Real crises do not need embellishment to command attention. They demand clarity, compassion, and respect. And those are things we can offer without adding anything that isn't confirmed.